of the things that I remember my father talking about was when he was a child, they were very religious. And on the Sabbath, they would all sit in the same bed and tell stories and read from the Bible. And so that's something that stayed with me, the Jewish life there. My father, and yesterday there were people talking about Jewish peddlers. My father's mother carried linens on her back from door to door in Vienna, that's where they lived. And my father at 13 went to work to help out. And as my brother said, by the age of 17, he was the
chief buyer.
Yeah, he was the chief of the, so he worked from the time he was 13 to help out. He was also, if you don't know, the junior wrestling champion of Austria. So, yes, so even though he was not a very big person, he was a very strong person. Another little fact about my father is they were very kosher, but when he got on the ship to come to America, he asked to see the kitchen to make sure it was kosher. And there, for the first time, he saw the shrimp and bacon in the kitchen and knew that was the end of his kosher life. My father sold his factory in 1968 and devoted his life to public service, and I'm sure you've read about the many things he did. But in 1971, he ran for mayor and was mayor until 79, where he was asked to run for Congress. And my father won the primary, and many of you may know this story, but Lee Atwater was the campaign manager for Carroll Campbell, and they did a poll. And I think this was the beginning, if we look at what's going on right now in politics, I think this was the beginning of sort of nasty politics. The poll had 3 questions. The first question was, would you vote for a Jew? And the second one was, would you vote for a refugee? And the third question was, would you vote for someone who would not take Christ as their Lord? Christ. Would not accept Christ. The first 2 questions, people answered yes. They would vote for a Jew and they would vote for a refugee. But the third question, no. And they brought in a third party and a third candidate who, as his platform, used that Heller did not believe in Jesus Christ. And from my father being favored to win until the election, that's when there were threats on our lives. All his plaques were pulled down, and my father lost the election. But my father, being who he was not bitter, accepted this, and even, it was in the New York Times the next day that anti-Semitism raised its ugly head again. And I think, to me, I think that was really the beginning of the way a lot of politics are run today, unfortunately. So just wanted to tell you that story.